Well, welcome out to the Civil War Quartermaster program. Fort Scott never saw any battles during the Civil War. We probably don't think Fort Scott was that exciting, right? But actually there was quite a bit of activity, quite a bit of important activity that went on in Fort Scott during the Civil War that made Fort Scott perhaps even more important than any place where there was a battle. Let me just start off by asking you all a question. By a raise of hands, who is willing to tell me what they had for breakfast this morning? Let me say, first of all, who ate breakfast at home? Okay, who ate breakfast at home? Okay, what did you have for breakfast? Toast. Is that it? Toast? Do you have anything on the toast?
Butter and jelly.
Butter and jelly. Okay. Who else had breakfast at home? Right here.
Cereal.
Cereal. What kind of cereal did you have?
Raisin bran.
Raisin bran. Did you have milk on your raisin bran? Did you have anything with it besides the cereal? No? Okay, one more. Right here.
Pizza.
Pizza. You had pizza for breakfast.
Yeah.
What kind of pizza did you have?
Meat lovers.
Meat lovers pizza. And where did you get a meat lovers pizza at 7 o'clock in the morning?
Wait, we ate some and we had leftovers.
Oh, you had leftovers. Where'd you get that pizza at?
Casey's.
Casey's? Okay. Where's that at? Crocky's? Crocky's at the Casey's Pizza. Okay. So you ate a pizza, a meat lover's pizza from Sarcox's. Okay. And what exactly was on that meat lover's pizza?
Okay, cheese.
Cheese.
Some tomato sauce.
Tomato sauce. Okay.
Small meatballs.
Small meatballs.
Dough.
Dough. Yeah.
Flour.
Flour. Okay.
Tomato sauce.
You said tomato sauce. You guys, one at a time.
Okay. Like, it looked sort of like salami.
If it's a meat lover's pizza, you got something besides meatballs, right?
Yeah, I think maybe
Canadian bacon.
And I think salami.
Salami. Okay. Pepperoni sausage. Is that part of it? Meat lovers. Okay. Now, you got this from Casey's Pizza, right? And so what? Casey's has this endless supply of pizza ingredients, right? Where does Casey's get its pizza ingredients?
From farms.
Farms. Okay. Factories. Okay. Cheese, for example. Where does the cheese come from?
Dairy farms.
Okay, dairy farms. Okay. And does it come directly from dairy farms to the pizza place? Probably not. Goes through processing. Probably to from farms, it probably went to a factory to process the cheese, and then the pizza place orders it from, maybe not directly from the factory, maybe from a distribution center for the factory. Okay? How did it get from the farm to your kitchen table this morning?
Well, it started out in a cow.
Yeah? The whole pizza?
No.
Just
the cheese.
Just the cheese, okay.
It started out in a cow.
Actually, part of it probably started off as a cow.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
then went to a tank, got
Okay.
processed,
Okay.
then went to a cheese factory.
Okay. How did it get from the farm
truck.
to the cheese factory? It went by truck. Okay.
Then it went through a whole bunch process.
Right.
Then it
Okay.
got put in like cubes or slices.
Sounds like a long process
Yes.
that got it from the farm to your table.
Yeah.
Now, how well would you guys survive if any of these systems broke down? If the trucks couldn't bring the product to market?
Oh, I would.
Okay. if the store closed down,
I wouldn't.
or if something happened that all the food in the store spoiled, how well would you survive?
So,
You are dependent. Now, unless you are self-sufficient, growing your own food, you are dependent on a lot of things going right in order to get your food, and you're dependent on a lot of people doing their jobs. If the truck driver falls asleep at the wheel, or just decides he's not going to work that day, if the store owner doesn't order food, okay, if the farmer decides he's going to go fishing instead of harvesting his product and his crop goes bad, now, all kinds of things, all kinds of jobs are critical in bringing you your breakfast. But I never thought about it like that. Same thing is true for soldiers during the Civil War. Soldiers are dependent on people who work here at Fort Scott during the Civil War doing their job. This building you're standing in right now was the Quartermaster storehouse during the 1840s. This building is about 170 years old. The flooring you're standing on is 170-year-old flooring. Okay. Pretty good shape. It's oak flooring. Oak flooring is pretty sturdy. Okay. Quartermaster storehouse. What word do you think of when you think of that word quartermaster? What's a quarter spring to mind?
money.
Money. Okay. In this case, quarters means something different than the quarter you spend. A place to live, exactly. Houses, living quarters. So the quartermaster, as the name implies, in charge of building the living quarters, getting all the supplies here to build the living quarters, is in charge of overall construction. So part of this, where this storehouse was the quartermaster storehouse. Actually, the area behind us was actually the quartermaster part of the storehouse. This room we're in now, you don't see any building supplies here, right? What do you see in this room? Food. Okay. So actually, the person in charge of the food supplies is called the commissary officer. But it's just at Fort Scott. Fort Scott was such a small fort that the commissary and the quartermaster shared the same warehouse. So and it all fell under the quartermaster department, so we call it the quartermaster storehouse. Now, during the Civil War, the Army returned here. Remember, we said in the introduction to the band of Fort Scott, it came back, reestablished a military base here, and one of the important functions located here was that of the quartermaster function, that of the supply function. This building became part of the quartermaster function, but so did several other buildings in the town of Fort Scott. The stables, the long skinny building across the parade ground where they kept horses in the 1840s, during the Civil War, that was converted to a commissary storehouse. And what kind of supplies did they keep in a commissary storehouse? Food supplies. Up to 1 million rations could be stored in that building. Sound like a lot of food?
Yeah.
Okay. What's a ration? Somebody tell me what a ration is. A serving? It's a little bit more than a serving. A little bit more than a meal. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. A ration is the amount of food supplies a soldier had for one day. So, if you have 1 million rations, and how many soldiers could you feed in one day? 1 million. Okay, it wasn't that many soldiers here at Fort Scott. Permanent garrison here was around 1,700 during the Civil War. That was the average. But you supplied up to 10,000 soldiers in the field. So let me test your math skills. How many days does 1 million rations last 10,000 soldiers?
10.
A little more than 10.
Wait, no.
100.
100. Very good. Ding, ding, ding. Okay. 100 days. That's about a little over 3 months. How long does the Civil War last?
2 years. Wait.
Civil War actually lasts 4 years. Fort Scott is a military base for 3 of those 4 years. From March of 1862 to April of 1865. During that time, then, a lot of rations, a lot of supply rations would have gone through that building alone in order to feed 10,000 soldiers for 3 years. You know, 1 million rations, 3 months at a time. You know, we're talking maybe 4 million rations, 12 million food supplies for 12 million rations over a period of 3 years. It's a lot of supplies going through just that one building. But then you think about Fort Scott's not just supplying food rations to the soldiers. What else do soldiers need to survive? Water, shelter. Where do soldiers? What do soldiers sleep in out on the field? Tents. Okay. Do they just travel their birthday suits?
No.
They need clothing, okay? Military uniform. A lot of that kind of thing is supplied out of Fort Scott. And how does it get to soldiers? How do all these supplies get to the soldiers out in the field? Horses?
Trains.
Wagons, trains, okay. How do you, what do horses need to get to survive? Water, food. What kind of food? Okay, so you're going to have a lot of feedlots in town in order to feed just the horses that are taking the supplies out to the soldiers in the field. And what are the horses pulling? Wagons. What do you need to do to maintain the wagons?
Supply.
How many of you have a car?
You need more.
Okay, what do you need to do to maintain your car?
Change the tire.
Okay,
Oil.
grease it, okay, oil change, maintain the brakes. How does the car get down the road? Gas. What does it travel on to get down the tires? Okay. So you got to maintain the tires in order to keep your car running smoothly. Same thing with a wagon. You got to keep the wheels well maintained. You've got to keep the axles well maintained and make the wheels go. So again, all of those functions require people having jobs. So if you're supplying 10,000 soldiers in the field, you've got a lot of jobs created in Fort Scott that help to bring that about.